Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Construction Show. I'm your host, Jerrod Downey. Today on the show, we have Southeastern Conveyor Services, SCS, and we're going to have their president on, Stephanie Weeks, and Buddy Wilson. He is their quality assurance manager. Hello, both of you. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Where's everybody based?
We're here in Birmingham, Alabama.
So what time zone is that? Is that Central? I just noticed you said good morning. Yeah. So I'm used to, we've been doing
Central time zone.
Central time. So it is still morning there. I was picking your brain a little bit before the show. This is actually your first time doing these long form podcast style. Stephanie, you were saying.
Yes, it is. So we don't know what we're doing. We're amateurs here, so we're just trusting you to guide us along the way.
Well, I hope I don't let you down then. No, it's very good to have you. You have a service line. I mean, we were talking before we started recording. I come out of the mining equipment space, so lots of interaction with conveyors at different sites. So it's always fun when we get to talk about this sort of equipment on the show. Southeastern Conveyor Services. Stephanie, can we just kick off with the summary of who the company is, including your reach, sort of how far your services go across the U.S.?
Yeah, we are a full-service conveyor company, so we provide repair services, maintenance services for our customers. We mainly focus on the Southeast, so Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, Georgia, and then maybe just into the panhandle of Florida. But mainly, just as our name says, Southeastern. And we like to give just that turnkey white glove approach for our customers. So we want to be there. Our main focus is hopefully they don't break down. So we're strong in preventative maintenance, but then we also are very strategic in the way we plan, so we can provide those emergency services if our clients do have, repairs that need to be made. Breakdowns of an emergent nature.
In what were the states that you just listed off? Alabama and then the other ones?
Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee, and the panhandle of Florida.
So does it sort of break down by state in sector as well? Like Mississippi, there's a lot of aggregate, I believe, and then obviously Florida has a fair amount there's mining down there, or is it pretty even across all those states?
I would say it's various. Buddy might be able to talk a little more about it, but the main things: aggregate, lime, paper, mining. Most of the coal, I would say, is around here that we deal with. But then, your aggregate and your paper for sure is kind of spread out all over.
Yeah. So,
Right.
So for Buddy, is that you'd sort of agree that it's sort of does one state tilt one more way? We've had some customers come out of Mississippi, and that was really aggregate heavy, and then some mining out of Florida. So I was just trying to understand the landscape of those states a little bit.
Right. So a lot of pulp and paper is based here in the Southeast. I can name at least 10 paper mills within about a 3-hour radius of here. The other thing which is unique about the Southeast, specifically Alabama, is that we have all the industries here. We have everything from pulp and paper to heavy aggregate to coal mining. So we don't have to go a long way to reach our customers, whereas in the state of Georgia, it's heavy on aggregate, a lot of pulp and paper. Tennessee is much like Georgia and Alabama. Florida's pulp and paper. They have some aggregate, but a lot of their heavy mining are phosphates. And in Mississippi, it's really pulp and paper and some very light mining of aggregate, sand, and gravel. They're not a huge major hard rock miner like you would see in Alabama or Georgia.
Right.
Let's talk about our heavy industry tour brought to you by Savannah Equipment, supplying mining equipment worldwide. We are heading to events across North America, Africa, and Australia, and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsman.com to be part of our Crownsman's Heavy Industry World Tour. With Fender Dunlop, you know you are getting the best conveyor belting in the market. That's because they ensure the integrity of their conveyor belting by monitoring each step of the manufacturing process in their North American facilities. Focused attention is given to each belting order to guarantee that they produce a belt that will assist the customer in reducing operation costs, maximizing uptime, and improving revenue. Visit FenderDunlopAmericas.com to learn more. Reduce tire-related production interruptions and enhance vehicle safety with Doran tire monitoring systems designed for off-road, earth-moving, and industrial equipment. Real-time access to accurate, reliable tire pressure and temperature information helps operators and supervisors maximize equipment performance and tire life. Doran tire monitoring systems are designed to withstand extreme operation conditions while featuring simple installation and low maintenance. Visit DoranMFG.com for more information on how Doran can help reduce equipment downtime and improve safety. Based in Southern California, Enhanced Scanning has performed thousands of projects on construction sites across the U.S. in an effort to help its customers find the unfindable. Enhanced Scanning combines ground-penetrating radar, laser scanning, and drone inspection services to provide comprehensive deliverables for their customers' fast-paced timelines, all without sacrificing quality or communication. To learn more, you can visit them at enhancedscanning.com or find them on LinkedIn at Enhanced Scanning.
I could do a whole episode just unpacking those different industries and those sectors, but I'll stick to I'll stay focused. Stephanie, you're one of the founders, is that correct, of the company?
That's correct. Yes, my husband and I started this. Started operating in 2015.
2015. So it's actually still a fairly new company then.
Mhm.
7, 8
Yes.
years old. Where was the opportunity? What prompted founding the company?
Oh, my husband has done conveyor work since he was 18. So not to give away his age, but he's done this for about 28 years.
Oh, I think you did.
and
Giveaways.
yeah, right. He loves it. It's his passion. I personally can't think of anyone who's better at it than he is. He just has everything that you need to work on a conveyor system. He's a millwright, a certified welder, a crane operator, certified crane operator. He has a CDL. He's a certified vulcanizer. He knows conveyors from one end to the other. And there's just absolutely, to this point, there's just been nothing that he's not been able to do.
Wow. So when you started it, was it quite had you started to get a pretty good understanding of the industry in 2015, or was it a big learning curve coming in?
It was a huge learning curve for me. I was a therapist before I dove into the conveyor world. So
Really?
Therapy and conveyors are very, very different.
They are.
So I will say that I am able to use my therapeutic skills in different aspects of the business, but yeah, it was very much a learning curve for me.
I wouldn't be a proper interviewer if I didn't double up on that question. What does transfer into? Because that's a bit unique in the industry. I've been around the industry long enough that there's it's actually not that common to hear someone went from therapy to the conveyor world or the heavy industry world. So what do you bring into the industry with that skill set?
Well, so just in running a business and in a business like this, tension can be high sometimes. People, especially when you have conveyor systems broken down, people call you with their hair on fire. They're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars every hour that they're down. And their boss and the board and everyone else, the shareholders, are jumping up and down. So for me to be able to bring somewhat of calm and rational, organized perspective, it kind of helps calm those fires. So and then also just anytime that you're dealing with people, and our employees and our vendors, and Buddy will laugh because I always mess with him about our vendors. I love them dearly, but yeah, so just using sometimes we call it our OT, so I was an occupational therapist, our OT toolbox, and being able to draw on some of those skills from the past. They have been helpful in tense situations that you can find yourself in when you work in the conveyor industry.
Well, buddy, you've been in, I'm quite interested in this because you are a service company, and like you're saying, a lot of time the call you're getting it might not be. It's not when people are in their best mood necessarily. And buddy, because it's interesting. I mean, you've been in the industry, so you kind of know what I'm referring to. That tension and sort of that roughness that can go along with the industry. And I'm interested your perspective on that. Even seeing sort of someone with that background dealing with it from a bit of a different approach than maybe we standardly would in the industry.
It's absolutely different, but the positive end of it that people don't see, from the customer facing, is the idea that from that background, there's a lot of internal organization on what we do and how we do it. We try not to fly by the seat of our pants, which is common in this business. A lot of service companies are just go, 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 and they don't know why they're going or where they're going. They just know they're going. We try to take a very organized approach to how we go to market, how we organize each job, how we mobilize each crew. So having somebody with that sort of background helps ground us when we're in that go, go, go mood. So we go, go, go situation. So we take a breath, we step back, and then we can make better decisions going forward.
Yeah, because you can't really change the situation in these cases. If something's broken and there's a panic, it really does come to, as a company, how well you're able to handle the situation that you can't change. Really is the epitome of what goes on in this industry, right?
Absolutely. So, for example, if you have a pulp and paper mill, and the paper machine goes down, you're talking about $60,000 an hour they're losing. They don't take down those paper machines for any reason unless it's on purpose. Or if you have a longwall coal mine and for some reason the longwall shuts down or you lose a belt in the longwall, you're probably looking at $100,000 an hour of lost time. So we don't always get the best out of the phone call that we get. Are usually around 2:00 in the morning, because it doesn't happen between 8 and 5. It's usually going to happen after you're good and comfortable at home, and then you have to start moving very quickly to get your customer back up and running.
Zero Knox is leading the electrification of off-highway commercial and industrial vehicles. They provide a platform for clean energy technology to get to market through powertrain solutions, development partnerships, and electrification kit solutions for conversions. Reduce carbon emissions without diminishing vehicle performance or being restricted by high costs. Partner with Zero Knox, like many of the world's leading OEMs, as they solve challenges across multiple continents with their cleaner and higher performing technology. Zero Knox solutions are designed and engineered in America with offices in Porterville, California. Learn more at zeronox.com. When you see the orange iron of a Ditch Witch machine out in the field, you can be sure of one thing: a job is getting done. As the leading manufacturer of underground construction equipment, Ditch Witch has been a catalyst of innovation for the industry since the day they were founded. And with a worldwide and world-class dealership network that features over 175 dealerships across the globe, this equipment is backed by the best. Learn more at ditchwitch.com. DMH manufactures CNC lathes for seal production, semi-finished materials for seal manufacturing, as well as machine seals. But they are much more than a seal manufacturer. They supply the technology for seal manufacturing in the form of machine seal software and tooling technology. Altogether, this allows the simple manufacturing of nearly every seal within the shortest amount of time. The products are also used in a wide range of industries such as mobile hydraulics, mining industry, heavy industry machinery, oil and gas, wind energy, renewable energy, aviation, food and pharmaceutical industry, transportation, and automotive industry. To learn more, you can visit them at dmh.at. Seal technologies of the future, already today.
That I saw in the notes about 24/7 emergency services. Is that how big of a part of your business is providing that?
It's huge. This industry we're in, we have to be 24/7. Most mills and mines run on a 24/7 cycle, and they have to remain profitable to get the most out of each production hour. So when they, have an issue, we have to be there. You can't wait to, okay, well, we're going to be here at 8:00 in the morning. You have to go now. And some of these shifts can last, 5 hours, or that shift can last 36 hours, depending on what it takes to get that customer up and running.
So when you say a customer, what is the, if you don't mind me asking, what is the business model then? Is it like a retainer type thing, or is it like how do you manage availability and even time if it's 2 hours away? Some of these are kind of more remote site. How do you manage all that?
We are in a very competitive market, and we have to earn every customer that we have every time. You're only good as your last job. So, and we get into this a little bit later on, but what we try to do is provide the highest quality service for the most reasonable price in the market. Like Stephanie said, it's a white glove turnkey situation. There is no retainer, and that would be terrific if there was a retainer. So we could keep a crew just sitting on go. The thing about this business, and it's really not unique to us, but you have to understand that you are on a 24-hour schedule. All of your personnel have to understand that they're on a 24-hour schedule. And they are subject to be called out at any time. So, our business in the belting business, service business, is more of a lifestyle than just a job. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, no, for us in the conveyor industry, I've noticed it's very messy and chaotic and disorganized at times. And so that's why we are so focused on our internal processes and keeping us organized, because we kind of have to overcompensate for just the messiness really in the general industry itself. So I think that's really one area that we shine because of just how focused and strategic and organized and efficient that makes us. We can really help them and their time of need, I guess.
And that the preventative side must be huge then, because if you've got 10 clients and you can keep 9 of them through preventative maintenance, that must just be a hugely key part of your business, right?
That's right. Yes, that's a major focus for us.
So what does that entail? What does that look like on some of these aggregates, the mines, pulp and paper? What does a maintenance plan look like? And whoever wants to sort of kick that one off.
Well, I can start it.
Yeah.
Our each account is going to have an account manager. You may see their term field solutions, something along those lines, but they're going to be out regularly and they're going to be walking those systems, and they're kind of the eyes on the ground for everyone, keeping up with making sure that no catastrophe strikes. So that's their job. They're out there on the regular. And then from there, we can schedule anything that we see that needs to be headed off ahead of time. Like that's what we're trying to do, is catch it before it breaks and then go ahead and service that ahead of time when they have downtime. So it's not costing them more money and paying us overtime. We're not trying to crawl people out of bed, and they're not losing their production. So ideally, their account manager is going to find any issues ahead of time, and we're going to schedule that and do the preventive maintenance needed in a scheduled downtime.
How much of the business would be that? Would it be mostly maintenance? If there's 10 jobs, are 9 of them maintenance and then 1 of them is downtime, or how does that sort of balance out? Just roughly.
Yes, scheduled jobs, I would say, Betty, what do you think? I'd say maybe 75% we can catch and schedule, and then we've got about a 25% that we have to catch on emergency call-outs.
What do you think is the most, and for our audience who are in these businesses, what do you think is the biggest error that you've seen where people haven't got to something quick enough, or maybe they something that is, maybe they'll let a common thing that should get fixed is also a common one to let sort of slide for too long? in the industry. Is there anything that sort of stands out to you in that maintenance side?
Yeah. So with maintenance, if you go back 30 years, and most mills, most mining companies and organizations, they had a huge maintenance staff. And they had people who were, their only job was to grease bearings, to grease idlers, and they did it consistently. And over the years, you've had a lot of these maintenance staffs have been whittled down to next to nothing. So they're only so much that they can do. So what you see a lot is you see a lot of anecdotal remedies that are actually more harm than good to the belt or to the idlers or to the pulleys or to the belt cleaners, anything along that line. But really, honestly, it's just your wear parts that they tend to get ignored because if it's not a 4-alarm fire, people usually ignore it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be okay. That'll be all right. I can get that to next week, which turns into the next week and the next week.
Yeah.
And, I've seen where people have ignored components on a belt conveyor and turned their primary belt from a 42-inch to a 30-inch belt in a blink of an eye, and then wonder why, that they can't get the production they can get. And then they turned around a week later and turned that 30-inch belt into a 18-inch belt because they didn't fix the problem, which was painfully obvious. And as it turns out, that particular conveyor was one of the top 10 worst conveyors I've ever seen once I got there. So
by the time you got there.
Yeah, so it's very simple things. There's a lot of simple things. 9 times out of 10, things don't break catastrophically. They break after a period of time where they're either abused or ignored.
Mm-hmm.
As a therapist, Stephanie, I'm assuming there's some crossover to what he's saying.
There is. There's so many similarities between people and conveyor systems. Pay attention to your body.
Yeah, and little incremental things can build
That's
up.
right.
With you mentioned, buddy, you were talking about better best price and things like that. I wanted to touch on, are you actually are you partnering with other companies with like the components and that? Are you providing and installing them? What is that part of the business?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So what we try to do here at SCS is we want to partner with the best products and have the best relationships with those vendors. And I like to call them vendor partners because, vendor is kind of a cold term. It separates you from your partners. But we partner with premium products. We focus on domestically made products, products that are an engineered product versus a commodity. And we also try to focus on which products and which partner is going to give us the best support. Because in the end, if they're giving us that sort of support, then we can translate that to a value to the customer to give them the ultimate support, not just, beyond us, it goes up a level. So, we are partnered with Fender Dunlop Conveyor Belting, which is a premium domestically made product. We partner with ASGO, which is a domestic company who makes material containment products, belt cleaners, chutes, anything that you can imagine that would actually help with material containment and belt cleaning. We partner with Continental Global Material Handling, which is probably the premium conveyor belt idler in the market. They've been around for a long time, so we don't want to be a me too. So when we talk about price and quality, price is not always the answer. There are going to be places that are just not going to spend the money that they need to spend, and that's just the brass tacks of it. So we partner with our vendor partners to make sure that when we provide a service along with their product, the value they are getting supersedes what the bottom line price is today.
Right.
So we're selling them uptime. That's what we're doing.
You said about them, there's maintenance staff cutbacks over the years that it sort of shifted away from that. Have you seen following that more of a shift to wanting to ensure quality as opposed to just bottom line? Have you noticed any difference in that because they know if they've got a maintenance staff shortage, they can't afford, let's say, I mean, we've had Fenner Dunlop, they advertise on the show, and so they're a great partner with us as well. That companies that operate and deliver products to the market at that level, as opposed to, let's say, an off-brand, that they don't know and understand. Are you seeing a shift in the willingness to even risk those sort of, well, I'll call it, for lack of a better term, off-brand products that get pushed into the market?
What we see is it's kind of a mix. It's a 50-50 shot. Most major manufacturers of product, say it's pulp and paper or miners of coal, you're going to find that they are very keen to downtime. Downtime is a big problem. Then there's other markets where they're going to go for the lowest possible dollar. No matter what you do, no matter what you can do for them, they're going to the lowest possible dollar. So there is a mix in there. But we are finding in some of these major manufacturing centers where they want our help. They realize what we can bring to the table, and we're not going to bring them a discount product just for the fact of being a discount product. We're going to bring the best product for the application.
Yeah. Stephanie, I'm just curious of you from, the president level, that sort of approach, that 50-50, there's always this temptation. You've seen it. I mean, we're in production and we get those temptations. You can save $1,000 here on one type of camera, and, inevitably it's always the wrong decision, that I found anyway. So you sort of, as a company, need to make that decision to, the ASCOs, the Fenner Dunlops that carry those lines, and deliver them to your clients as the option. How do you sort of approach that from essentially the executive level, as a company, when you know that half the companies are just wanting that bottom line?
Well, for Jason and I, that's my husband, it was simple. Really, from the beginning, we could get the cheapest import item out there, but we know it's going to break. And what that would do is discredit my husband and I and hurt our name. And so we were very intentional from the very beginning. We want quality products. We want to install and we want to service quality products, because at the end of the day, it was deeper for us because we felt like it was a reflection of us personally, and it was a reflection of our name. And if that product breaks or fails, they're not going to call ASCO or Fenner. They're going to call Jason and Stephanie, and they're going to expect us to fix that and service that and make that right. So it was a no-brainer for us, honestly, and it has been from day one.
What about servicing though? Some of those, like Buddy, I'm assuming sometimes you go out to these sites for servicing and realize, oh, they've got this is the product line that they went with a bottom line product line, and now they've got maintenance issues or wear issues that they shouldn't have. How do you approach that with your clients?
I think you have to be very careful when you approach that with your client and the customer. Is you need to make your best recommendation once you arrive on site. But on top of that, you need to be able to explain why that's your best recommendation. It's not enough just to know the answer. Well, why is that the answer? So if somebody at that site makes a decision to buy a certain product, and then maybe that product is an inferior product, you have to be careful not to indict that product, because at the same time, you're indicting the credibility of the person who made that decision.
Right.
And that person might be right in front of your face.
Right.
So you just make your best recommendation. This is what we can do. This is what I would do to help you out. Or, if you want to continue down this road, this is what we can do to help you out. But we can make the following recommendations of X, Y, and Z. And here's why we're making those recommendations.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's those would be interesting conversations to be a fly on the wall, because I can imagine the tap dancing that needs to happen with those sometimes. I've probably been in those conversations sometimes.
Right.
Stephanie, I get some notes, and I just wanted to quickly cover something before I wanted to do a little bit of case study topics. But I got a note about it's ISO 9001 2015. I'm really not reading that out right. I just wanted to clarify what that is.
Yeah, so that's a quality standard. So we have our certification, our quality management system has obtained that ISO certification. So it just shows that our quality management system has met a standard put out. It's the gold standard, and that we've been externally audited, and we meet those standards. So we're very intentional, as you can see with Buddy, our quality manager. We're very intentional with quality here. It's part of our core values, and we're very proud of it, honestly.
Oh, so is it 2015 from when you start? Like, is it ISO?
No, that's part of the.
Oh, it's part of the thing.
It's part of the standard. Yeah.
So is that when you're going on to site, is that something that, like, will clients ask for that standard? I'm just unfamiliar with that. So
occasionally. So, we've had in the past clients, when you enter into your master contract with them or whatnot, they'll ask for a copy of your quality management program or your manual or whatever you have. They want to see, are you tracking quality? How do you, ensure that? And it looks at your process as a whole. So it looks at our vendor selection, our training programs, everything from the moment we make first contact with the customer through the quoting process to the invoicing process and beyond. So it looks at our entire corporation as far as quality goes and our processes, really.
Thanks, Stephanie. I just I wanted to clarify that before we jumped into some of the case study topics. Buddy, are there a couple projects that stand out to you that maybe we could just walk the audience through to sort of give them that real world example of what SCS does?
Absolutely. So one of the first projects that I want to talk about is we deal a lot in pulp and paper, and in the South, and especially in the Southeast, we process pine trees, a lot of pine trees. They're everywhere down here, not a lot of hardwood. And so what happens is, and it's very common in pulp and paper, is a lot of the dust and debris sticks to the belt after the belt discharges the material. Well, the problem with that is that material they call it carryback, because it literally gets carried back through the system. And what ends up happening is it's several things. Number one, that carryback adds extra wear to the belt itself. It adds extra wear to the components on the system itself. It actually puts more stress on the drive system because now you're adding more material. And then the last part of it is you have a major safety and housekeeping issue. And so a lot of times under these conveyors, you'll see mountains of material. Now, if it's at a rock quarry, it's more of a nuisance than anything. But at a paper mill, that's flammable because you have moving parts creating friction, and those wood chips, that dust, it can be flammable, and it'll start a fire, which could be catastrophic. There's a major pulp and paper operator in the Pacific Northwest who had a major fire about a month and a half ago, and it shut down their flagship mill. I mean, it took days for them to put that fire out. So what we had is we found and I say one of our field solutions managers found particular situation where the entire underside of this conveyor was packed in with sawdust, wood chips. I mean, from the tail all the way to the head, and packed in so far it was making contact on the return side of the belt. It was encapsulating the return idlers. So we made a recommendation as a company on to utilize a very specific type belt cleaner. It's called a Bronco brush cleaner. ASCO Manufacturing makes this cleaner, and this cleaner is it is a rubber brush, and it's the brush itself has rubber fingers on there. They're high abrasion resistant fingers, and it brushes. It runs on a motor, about a 1.5 horsepower motor, and it brushes against the grain of the belt as it passes through. And you think, well, maybe I'm not sure if that'll do much good. So they put that brush on there, and we had some before and after pictures. And the before pictures, you could see in the pattern in the path where the material was on the belt, it was stuck to the belt, and all down the belt line, it was nothing but tramp material from the head to the tail. And then after we put that in and they cleaned up one time, the belt it's really impressive. It's incredibly clean. They don't have any tramp material on the return side. So not only did we eliminate a potential safety hazard, we've also freed up their personnel to go on to other maintenance items versus having to do cleanup. We've helped extend the life of the belt and the components, all by installing this one belt cleaner. There are a lot of cleaners out there, and there are a lot of options. But what we did as a company is let's say this is the best option for this application. This is not necessarily off the shelf. This is the best option. And as it turns out, it's working quite well.
Yeah, buddy, to add to that, I believe that customer just highlighted that application and that product in their best practices conference that they just had. That's what I'm being told.
Wow. What stood out to me is, like you said, your husband was in the industry since he was 18. Buddy, you've been in the industry a long time. And what stood out when you were talking about that is when an industry, even if you've been in the industry a long time, I mean, I'm sure was ever running those conveyor systems, they'd been in it a long time too. And that there's a product on the market that you just attach and it fixes your issue, and just not knowing it's on the market. It's sort of crazy that somebody could be operating and dealing with an issue like that. They just don't know that they can fix it.
We've talked about healthcare on here, and it just alludes to how we have CEUs in healthcare. The same is true for conveyors. We're continuously learning and keeping up with the newest and latest technology and research every day. Someone's introducing a new solution, and we're striving to stay up to speed and ahead of that with them.
Yeah, and there's 1,000 conveyor operators that don't realize if only 20 of them know that product's on the market. There's all those ones that don't have it at their hand. You must see it quite a bit, buddy.
You do. Kind of to go back to how we reached this conclusion of this is the belt cleaner we're going to use. This is the solution we're going to use. People use that term solution provider very loosely. Mm-hmm. The last thing we want to do is be a me too. We want to solve problems. It'd be just as easy for somebody to say, oh, let's just throw a couple of belt cleaners on there and it ought to clear it up. Well, that may or may not be true. We want to put the right product in the right place and install it correctly to make sure that you get the result that you're paying for. Because if, again, as Stephanie mentioned before, if it fails, they're not going to go to ASCO and say, hey, right, your product failed. They're going to go to Southeastern Conveyor, and it becomes our problem. Mm-hmm. So we're very conscientious and very intentional about how we go and make recommendations to our customers.
Yeah. As we sort of get to the tail end of this interview, is there other just quickly, buddy, is there any other projects that stand out as sort of a nice scope of what SCS can do?
Yeah, there's one in particular. There is a aggregate lime operation. It replaced about 2,000 feet of belt, probably in January, and that particular belt requires a finger splice. And I get a lot of people roll their eyes when I start talking about a finger splice, because nobody likes to do them. But in fact, it is the best splice for a fabric conveyor belt. And people used to always say, well, you can't finger splice this and you can't finger splice that. I can tell you now that I could finger splice this table if I needed to. if you look at millwork around your house or on your door, around your doors, you'll notice that those pieces are spliced together in the shape of a finger splice. So what we do is, in this particular situation, that's had to be finger spliced. If there are problem conveyors where you can't keep a belt together with a traditional step splice, the finger splice is the way to go. But on this particular project, we took 2,000 feet, a little over 2,000 feet, and we lapped it out on the ground. And we spliced the two ends together, with the two pieces together, and we were able to change that belt out with just really two pulls. And that really helped reduce the downtime for that customer and time there without that conveyor. But furthermore, with the finger splice, we provided a solution that gives them a splice that is 97% efficient to the strength of the belt. So we like to do that. We can splice however you like, but we also provide this solution that gives you the option of a better splice at the end of the day.
And that really comes down to trust, right? At the end of the day, that comes down to the reputation you've built, and are people willing to take that? They roll their eyes, you explain why they should do it, how you're going to do it, and then they go from an eye roll to, okay, let's do it because you're saying it.
That's right. It's all about credibility. It goes back to, say, day one, back in 2015 with Stephanie and Jason. Jason has an excellent reputation in this business, and we've been able to build our business with some pretty high horsepower belt technicians who also had an excellent reputation in this business. So, the idea is that we want to have that customer have the trust in us that if we suggest X, Y, and Z, then they're going to follow our suggestion, because not only that we suggest it, we can tell them why that's the right answer versus, just trust me, don't worry about it. Here's the answer, but here's why this is the answer.
Is it hard to find technicians now in that region? I know here we're here in Vancouver, Canada. In Canada, there's high skilled labor is it's a real challenge that we're coming in. I've heard it's similar in the U.S. How is it in your area? Is it hard to find people that can deliver at the level you need them to for the clients?
We're just very blessed where we are. We've got a really strong workforce. Buddy oversees our training. So even when we hire, someone who has no conveyor experience, we bring them in and we give them a quality training and education. And they also know what they're doing. They've demonstrated hands-on in front of Buddy that they can do it. And then they can verbally communicate why they just did what they did. So, down here, we've been very blessed. We have all that we need, and we have just a great workforce.
Is there younger people coming into the industry? Is it a lot of people that have been around the industry a long time? What's sort of the balance to find that? that you're finding?
Absolutely. We have a ton of knowledge just in our management staff in the service department. So, you have my husband, then you have a couple of our planners, our service manager, you have Buddy, and all of them are pouring and investing into our younger generation coming up. So we're spread across the board.
I like to stand up for the youth a little bit because they get picked on quite a bit these days. I've noticed. So, what is your experience? Some of these younger people that are coming into the industry and learning this trade.
What we found, and it's very similar to what it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever it is. You'll find there is a very specific group of young people that will get into the belt business, and if they stay around for 3 months, you probably got them for a year. And if you keep them for a year, you got them for 3 years, so on and so forth. What they see is the ability, to earn, because there's a lot of hours in the belt business. It's good pay. And what we try to do is pick out, and I was just thinking about this yesterday evening about the young people that we have here. Pick out the ones that are maturing, and you can really see them take off versus the ones that need to mature before it just clicks for them. But if we're going to give them, and as Stephanie said, we're going to pour into them everything we have, because their success is our success, and our success is our customer success. And there's no other belt company that is going to take the time and spend the resources to train people in a very intentional way. Many times in this business is the young person arrives at the job, 3 hours later they're going out on an emergency job and they're not sure when they're going to get home.
Right.
Which happens. But at the same time, we're going to take those people and we're going to show them the proper way to do things and why that's the proper way to do things. The young generation now, if they want to get into the belt business, then it's a pretty good idea that they're ready to work. You're not going to go to Chick-fil-A and hire somebody and bring them into the belt business and then be prepared for what they're going to find.
Because it is still a tough business. It's hard physical labor doing this type of thing.
It is very hard. It's one of the hardest jobs out there. I mean, I always wondered why the guy on Dirty Jobs on the Discovery Channel never followed a belt crew around.
That's a good point.
That's a rough job. I mean, my father-in-law back in the early 80s, he went and he left and didn't come home for 3 months on a project.
Wow.
I mean, and that's hard work every day.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the tools and equipment that we have today. So you can just imagine.
I mean, I've just pulled a couple belts out of mines. It was a lot of work. Just getting them drug out of there was a lot. Yeah, it's how do you approach? So just to sort of clarify what you're saying, when a young person is entering the workforce in your industry, they kind of already have to have that tough skin. They kind of have to be a step ahead. You can't bring someone in that's not used to that sort of physical labor. They just wouldn't be able to sort of take it. Or have you seen someone be able to do it?
It's a rare exception that you find people who come from a more gentle work experience to come into the belt business.
Yeah.
It is there have been a few. I had a young man in a former life of mine. He literally he was in the marching band in college and he knew he wasn't going to graduate. He did the last show and 2 days later he was working on a belt crew and being trained, and he turned out that he's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
But you just can never tell sometimes. But we get a lot of folks that come from a blue collar background.
Right.
Their family's a blue collar background, whether it's mining or whatever it may be. And so a lot of times they're used to hard work already.
Yeah. No, I can imagine it sort of be keys. Stephanie, just to wrap up, just for the growth of the company, I'm curious if is it seems like that market you're in, the Floridas, the Mississippis, of course, Alabama, they're they're so packed already. Is it about maximizing those areas? Is it about adding in more states that you service? What is sort of the vision long term?
Yeah, so I mean, right now we just take it one day at a time. We are very, very blessed. We've grown bigger than and faster than we probably ever thought we would have. And we focus on doing everything well. So once we feel we're in a territory and that we have taken care of that territory well and that runs the way it needs to run, then we can look at moving to our next territory with a possible another location or something of that nature. But I've seen a trend in this industry where people just want to go throw up a location in every state just to say that
Yeah,
they have one,
right.
but they're not well done. We will not do that.
Right. That's good to hear. I think long term, it's, yeah, short term, you don't get to post on maybe LinkedIn every 3 months, new location, new location.
That's right.
But that reputation, and I find even more since COVID, actually, people, because I think it became a little more localized, we sort of shifted into that mode. I feel like reputation, and that's why, buddy, I asked about like that bottom line price. That bottom line is not as the priority to some people now, where they need quality because they're short on staff. All these types of things. I have seen that shift just from like these conversations and off camera talking to people as well. So it's nice to hear. I didn't know the answer when I asked it, but it's nice to hear that answer because I think it's such an important part of growth now, especially in sort of the way the industry seems to be going. From my perspective, anyway. I don't know if you'd agree with that, buddy. What your thoughts are on it?
Well, I think that from the outside looking in, uh, what you find with our organization is that we focus on organic growth.
Hmm.
And to Stephanie's point, we want to grow uh, in a manner that we don't leave any gaps, any white spots. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our customers in a certain area at the best of our ability. And before we take a step to put a satellite operation somewhere, that we can backfill that and continue to provide that same white glove turnkey service that we provided in our original service area, and carry that over to the new service area. Because I've seen way too many times, to Stephanie's point, is that people throw up a location, and really all they're doing is just, it's an office and a guy sitting in an office. They're really not providing any value to you. Right. That's the whole key. So you have to, when you go and you say, all right, I'm opening a shop in location X, that is a huge undertaking. That is an expensive undertaking, not only in equipment and overhead, but in finding the right people that will do how you do things the way we do it here locally. So there is no drop off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stephanie, I'm going to give the last question to you. Just a quick one, because I'm just curious. What did you expect in 2015 getting into this business, and what has it been like actually doing it over the last, I guess it's 8 years now?
I would say go find the scariest roller coaster you could find, get on it, and then don't put your restraint on and go for it,
Go
because
for it.
that's what this feels like a lot of days. I've enjoyed it very much since we started. I went back, I got a business degree because I felt, there's a lot more I need to know if we're going to run a company here. So, there's been a lot of learning. There's been a lot of learning in business. There's been a lot of learning in conveyors. I can talk about, belt compounds and carcasses and PIWs and pulley dimensions and things I never thought I would know about. And now I'm walking conveyors and have designer steel toe boots, as one of my field solutions guys makes fun of me. So life looks different, but I love it. I love working with my husband. We love doing this together. Our kids, we call them little belt babies, and they've been on conveyor belts since, one of them since she was 2 weeks old. I started bringing her to, the office to come visit because I couldn't stay away long enough.
Wow.
So, we love it. It's just kind of who we are at this point.
That's a perfect place to leave it. Thank you very much, both of you, for being on the show and for digging into some of these topics. And be willing to go in a few different directions during it. It makes the interview a lot more fun. So thank you, and I certainly hope this is not the last time we get you on the show.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll, of course, put links to Southeastern Conveyor Services and Stephanie and Buddy's LinkedIn if you want to connect with them directly on that platform. Thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you to all our sponsors. We'll see you on the next episode of The Construction Show.